Hi, happy October, happy fall. This is my official first day of fall. If you know me, you know that I tend to be a little bit fall resistant. Not because I don't love fall, I totally love fall, but I also love summer. And fall is the beginning of the end, so I kind of resist it. But once we hit October, there's no going back, so I fully embrace it. So happy October. So happy to have you here. If you are watching live, please say hello in the comments so that I can respond to you. And if you're watching on replay, do the same and I'll respond after the fact. So I'm excited for today because what we're going to talk about is the sideline routine. The sideline routine mostly covers the rib cage, although it does go down the IT band of the leg as well. But I really wanted to bring the ribs into our discussion before next week, before our Check Your Tech Neck workshop next week. And the reason is because the ribs affect everything in the body, including your tech neck issues. So we won't have time probably next week to focus directly on the rib cage, but I thought it was a piece that was important enough that we should maybe preemptively sort of get it in your body, get the concepts in your body so that you're fully ready for Tech Neck next week. I see a couple of you watching there. Hello, I'm not sure who it is, but I'm happy to have you there. So anyway, what today's going to be a little bit different in that it's going to be more of a demo of the Yamuna routine, the sideline routine. If you don't have the balls, you can still participate, but it probably will not be as effective as some of the things we've done in past weeks where we didn't need the ball at all. So kind of think of it as like a little demo. Of course, if you have the balls, please do join me because I think that you'll feel really great. It's a great midday sort of reset. So let's dive right in because this can be a little bit of a meatier routine and I don't want to go down the rabbit hole with it. So let's just go ahead and start talking about what we're going to affect in the sideline routine. So here he is, my bestie. So let's talk about the anatomy of the ribs, just a real basic little anatomy lesson. We have a couple of ribs that are a little different than the others. So if you can kind of take a look here, almost all of our ribs attach at the spine and either at the sternum or at the cartilage that attaches to the sternum. However, you have a couple of ribs that do not attach on both sides, and we call these the floating ribs. So you can see here, Skelly has a couple on each side where they come out from the back and they loop around and then they just stop. They just stop right there. So there's no support in the front of those ribs. So when we work the sideline routine, we only work the supported rib cage. We don't ever put the ball right on these unsupported bones because they are not as strong as the others. And these are just one of about 3 points in the body that you kind of have to be a little cautious with the balls. Otherwise, your body is fully equipped to take your full weight. So I want you to, I'm going to put him down very carefully here. I want you to find your floating ribs in your own body. So I'm going to stand, or not stand, but I'm going to kind of kneel for a second so that you can see on me. You might not be able to see this, but you want to kind of find for yourself, find the sort of like little curve of your waist. You can feel strong bone right there. You can feel strong bone right here. There's this little area, kind of like no man's land in between. If you take your fingertips and go down your rib cage, you're going to find a place where you feel these two protruding points that poke out. And for most people, they're a little further back and a little lower than you expect. So a lot of times people are kind of looking in the front for those points, but they're really actually pretty far back there. So see if you can find them for yourself. If you have questions, type them in the comments. Once you find them, it becomes very clear. So the reason that the rib cage is important in regards to the entire body is because there's so many attachments to other body parts. And also if the rib cage becomes narrowed, collapsed, sinking down, contracted inward, it's going to start to narrow this space between the pelvis and the bottom ribs. So if this space becomes narrowed, now you're talking about issues even with the organs, the abdominal area. If the rib cage is pushing down on the pelvis, now the pelvis is pushing down on the femur heads, the hips. So now you're dealing with hip issues and then so on down the line. So the ribs are really very, very important. And then, of course, you can imagine how that affects you upwards as well. They attach into the shoulder blade, they attach to the arms, they attach to the collarbone. That all affects the neck and the head. So very important part of the body. So what I'm going to show you now is the basic sideline routine. So I'm going to back up here. Now, like I said, I'm not going to do the full routine because it is a good, thorough routine that can take up a whole class if you did both sides. What we're going to focus on today, make sure I'm still in the frame here, is going to be the ribcage part of it. So just know that if you were going to do the entire version of the sideline, you would not only go up the ribs, but you would also go down the legs. So you would get this sort of like a taffy pulling apart sort of a sensation, creating length and space in that area between the ribs and the pelvis. So if you have a ball, go ahead and grab either your pearl or your gold. Now, this is a great example of when sports balls are absolutely not appropriate for this routine. You could definitely injure yourself if you roll through your ribs with any kind of hard sports ball. So if you have been playing around with, tennis balls or lacrosse balls or whatever balls, do not do them with this routine. You want to use balls that are designed specifically for this. So in this case, if you've ever been told that you have osteoporosis or osteopenia, you want to either use the gold ball if you have it, or if you have the pearl, you want to come down slowly on it. Most of you that have the pearl have done this work with me. So just listen to your body and take it nice and slow. We're going to do a lot of deep breathing with this. So we're going to find that floating rib. There's mine right there. So I'm going to make sure that I'm not going to put any pressure, any ball right there. What I am going to do is kind of take my hand and place my pinky on that floating rib and place the ball just above my index finger. Another way you could find it would be to place your hand in your armpit, and wherever your pinky is, you could start below that. That would start you up a little higher. I'm going to go with a little bit of a lower version today. So here you are. You're going to lie on your side. Take it slowly as you come down. You can rest your head in your hand and then stretch those bottom legs out. So that specifically that working side leg, you want that to be nice and long. Your top leg, you can either kind of scissor in front, or if you want to bend the knee and place the foot on the floor, that's great. Whatever's comfortable for you on the top. But the bottom leg, think of it as like your standing leg or your working leg. And you want to have the heel in line with the knee, in line with the hip, in line with the ball, the elbow, the shoulder, etc. So you want to have kind of this nice long, if I were to paint a line behind you or in front of you, hopefully it would be a pretty straight line. You want to avoid kind of folding in at the center or hyperextending the other way. Okay, so let's see. Okay, I'm just checking for comments there. I can see a few of you. Alrighty, so here we are. We have that nice long leg. I'm going to opt for this top leg to go in front. That way I'm not feeling unstable or wobbly. Now, you can keep your head in your hand as long as you want. Or if you feel like you're ready for a little bit more intensity, a little more stretch, you can stretch that arm out and rest your head right on your shoulder. Or you can make a pillow out of your hand or fist and create a little bit more support for the neck there. So either one of these is totally fine. Whichever you're opting for, I want you to think about lengthening that top part of you away. So if it's your elbow, you're reaching your elbow. If it's your arm, you're reaching your fingertips. As soon as you start to reach and extend, you're going to feel a gentle stretch down towards the hip. So remember, the goal here is to create as much space between the top of the pelvis and the bottom of the ribs as possible. So the more you start to stretch that upper body, the more space you're going to get. Take a couple of breaths here, and while you're breathing, I want you to feel a sense of that side of the rib cage expanding towards the ball. We've talked a lot about that idea of finding the ball with your breath, of trying to imagine that you're inflating the ball with your breath. In this particular case, since we're very close to our lungs, that's not that abstract of a concept. So take a couple breaths here. Every time you exhale, you are stretching further. Good. Now, think about that foot as well. So we're not going to roll down the leg today, but you can have a sense of your leg extending out of the hip. So if you kind of feel almost like there's an imaginary string on your heel and someone's pulling that heel, so you're getting that sense of elasticity, of lengthening. Now, if you don't have the balls and you're just wanting to see what this feels like without, you can totally achieve a similar stretch. It's not going to be nearly as deep, but you can still have a sense of fingertips reaching one way, feet reaching the other way. Nice long stretch here. Okay, so you've been here for a few breaths. When you're ready, you're going to take an inhale, and we're going to use this breath to move to the next point. So here we go. Breathing into the ball. On the exhale, I'm going to sink into it. I'm going to use this top leg to help propel me. I'm going to move towards my foot. I'm going to keep my weight in the ball as I do this. So I'm going to really sink down, slide towards my foot. The ball moves up towards my armpit, and what it's doing is literally lifting my ribcage. So after you've done this on one side, you will feel a little crooked. So never do this just on one side. FYI. Always, always, always do both sides, or else you're gonna really confuse your nervous system. Okay, so here you are, you're at the next point, which is not quite armpit proper, but getting close to it. So once again, you can either rest your head in your hand, or you can stretch that arm nice and long. Either way, you're reaching, away from the pelvis with the ribs, and then you're reaching your leg the opposite way. So a couple breaths here. Breathing into the sides of the ribs as you're exhaling, almost as if you could wrap your rib cage around the ball. So really, really deep into the ribs there. A couple more breaths. If we were doing this in a full class, I would spend a lot more time here. I'd probably spend about 15 minutes at least on each side. For today, I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes. When you're ready, we'll take that breath to bring it up to the next point, which is going to be the armpit. So give yourself a good inhale. As you exhale, sink straight down into it. Slide your body once again towards your feet. If you're having trouble locomoting, you can actually move the ball manually. If you need to move it up with your hand, that's fine. As you get kind of more practice with the ball, it'll become easier to navigate. Once you're in the armpit, now if this is the first time you've ever done this, or you haven't done this much, the armpit can be a pretty tender area. Most of us tend to hold a ton of tension in that area. Not even emotional tension, but just from typing and scrolling, a lot of things tend to really get stuck there. So again, if it's too much intensity to have your arm stretched out, you can certainly go back to resting your head in your hand if you need to. So a couple of breaths here, right in the armpit. And you'll find that the longer you breathe into this, the less intense it'll be. So if this is really incredibly intense, see if you can find some letting go that maybe you're not doing. The intensity comes from the resistance. So if you're tightening up and contracting, you're not going to ever allow the ball to really penetrate through the tissue and make its way to bone. Instead, you're going to be pushing the ball away. This is going to create sort of like discord, and that translates into pain. So you really want to try to invite that ball into the shoulder. If you've been here with the head and the hand for a bit, just give it a shot and try that arm out and see what that feels like. And if you want to do even a tiny little bit of forward and back movement with your body, so the ball moves a little forward in the armpit and a little back. So we could go all the way out down the arm to the pinky. For today, I'm just going to say, go ahead and remove that ball. Lie on your back for a second. However you choose to have your arms, just have them be doing the same thing. So either down at your sides or out at shoulder level. Sometimes I like to lie in a big X. See what this feels like. So I'm always amazed, after 15 years of practicing Yamuna body rolling, I'm always amazed at how different I feel after I've just done one side. So I feel super crooked right now, super lopsided. My right side feels like my leg is longer on that side. My hip is placed differently. I can feel my shoulder more on the ground on that side. So notice for yourself what you feel, and if you're watching live or on replay and you have the urge to type it into the comments, I'd love to hear your feedback. I'll do the other side with you because I don't want anyone to feel left in the lurch, and I want to make sure that we do both sides. So again, you're going to find that floating rib. There's mine, so I'm going to kind of put my pinky there. Right above my index finger is where I'm going to place the ball. I'm going to stretch myself out just like I did on the other side. I'm going to rest my head in my hand here, and I'm really thinking of lengthening this leg and reaching that heel away, checking in to make sure that my heel, my knee, my hip, my whole plumb line all the way up out through my elbow is all in the nice straight line. I'm going to go for my foot in front for balance here, but again, you could have your leg scissored in front or back. You can stack your leg if you want. I think you'll find that you get a little wobbly if you do that, so it's helpful to have a little sort of kickstand to balance with. So here we are. We're going to start with our breath. We're going to breathe into the sides of the ribs. If you choose, at any point, you can stretch that arm out, rest your head on your shoulder. Either reach the fingertips away or reach the elbow away. Either way, you're getting this nice deep stretch. Rib cage stretching up away from the pelvis. Pelvis and legs reaching the other direction, creating lots of space right in the center for your abdominal organs. This is great for pregnancy, making a lot of room for the fetus to grow. A couple more breaths here. When you feel ready, we'll start to move the ball up. So we take that breath in. As you exhale, you're sinking straight down. You're really wrapping around the ball. You can use your hand and your foot to help guide you. You're gonna slide towards the foot. Ball rolls up to your second of 3 points. So you're sort of right in line now with your shoulder blade. So if you were to go into a twist, which we often do, which feels wonderful right here, you would line up right with that shoulder blade. So that can give you a little bit of a landmark of where you should be. Same thing here. Taking a couple breaths. Either your head is resting in your hand or it's resting on your shoulder. Either way, you're reaching opposite directions. Head to tail are going different ways. Couple breaths here, breathing into the ball, feeling the ribs. Expand sideways to the ball. So our ribs are going like this every time you go through a breath cycle. Try one more here. Good. And when you're ready, next exhale is when we'll move. We like to make the movement happen on the exhale simply because it's easier to drop your weight as you're exhaling. But if that's confusing for you and you kind of get tripped up with the breath, don't worry about choreographing your breath with the movement. Just breathe normally. So here I go. I'm taking my inhale. As I exhale, I sink straight down and I'm sliding once again. Now I'm in my armpit. Again, a little tender here for some of us. So the way that you can alleviate some of that is by resting the head in the hand. If you want more pressure, you can actually use your head as the assist. Your head is nice and heavy. Placing it right on top of the shoulder will give you a little bit more pressure down into the ball. Now we're actually next week in the TechNet class, we're going to be focusing a lot more on this area. So stay tuned for that. We'll be talking a lot about the anatomy of the shoulder and how it affects the neck and the jaw. So you're just breathing here. You'll find the more you practice this work that it's very intuitive, very simple. It's a lot of just kind of moving the ball to a new point and breathing. So it's not difficult in any way. It's not a lot of stuff to remember. It doesn't matter what kind of fitness level you are. You want to move a little forward, a little back, letting the ball kind of create some more space there in the armpit. The armpit is part of the shoulder. So the armpit is the underside of the shoulder joint. Like I said, we'll talk more about that next week in Check Your Tech Neck Challenge. All right, so after you've been here for a bit, make sure you feel like you've given yourself about the same amount of love on this side that you did on the other side. When you're ready, take the ball away, lie on your back, and see what you feel now. Give it a second here. Okay, much better, much better. I no longer feel like this hip is hiked up. I no longer feel like this leg is shorter. Let me check in with my shoulders. Yeah, shoulders feel pretty even. I can feel both shoulder blades on the ground. So what a relief. Now I'm not like a rickety table. Sometimes I picture it like one side up and the other down. And you haven't quite fallen over, but you're not exactly stable. So that is a little peek into the sideline routine. We will, like I said, talk more about the shoulder parts of it and how that translates up into the neck next week in Tech Neck. So if there's any questions on that, definitely type them in comments and let me know. If you're watching on replay, I will see it later and I will get back to you on it. So definitely never hesitate to ask. And I just wanted then to, a couple of little reminders before we move into next week. There will be no Focus Mini next week, of course, because what we're doing instead is the free Check Your Tech Neck 5-day workshop challenge, totally free. If you haven't gotten your balls yet, they are still 20% off. You still have time, especially if you're in Columbus. I can definitely get them to you before Monday. And if you're not, it's only Thursday. You can probably still have them shipped and at least be there by Monday or Tuesday. So that is still going on. Also want to remind you that I'm having a contest. Whoever invites the most people into our group gets a free 30-minute consultation with me. So I'm pretty stoked about that. If you are inviting people into the group, make sure you hit invite instead of sending them the link. Otherwise, I won't know that you invited them. And I had one more note. What was it? Oh, yes, of course, the big news. So, the other thing I wanted to say is that I am in the process right now of creating a mentorship program that I will be unveiling next week. So, this mentorship program will be for people that are really ready for a deep dive into their own body sustainability. So, probably people that have had nagging pain, chronic issues for years, this is for you. People that have tried everything and have been told it's all in your head or whatever, this is for you. So if any of that resonates with you, I'll be talking about it in more detail one of the days next week during our Tech Neck workshop. So definitely be there for that so you can learn all about what that's going to be. And in the meantime, like I said, get your balls if you haven't yet. You can definitely take it without the balls, but it'll be a lot more fun if you have the balls. So that's it for today. Now you're kind of set up. You have that space between the ribs and the pelvis. You kind of a little more balance in the rib cage. So next week when we go really deep into detailed stuff in the jaw and the neck and the head and the shoulders and the sternum and the back, you'll already have that nice balance between the right and the left side, thanks to the classic, one of the original Yamuna body rolling routines. So that's all I have for you today. Have a wonderful day. It is absolutely gorgeous here in Columbus. Lots of color in the trees already. I hope it's beautiful there for you as well. Everybody enjoy your weekend, and I will see you on Monday. Thank you. Bye-bye.